All right, awesome. So I'm actually on the road right now on my way to the Grand Canyon, pulled over to do this, and I have been so fired up all week about Deanna jumping on here. Deanna is one of the coolest people in Vector. When I first met her, I was actually doing CGC, which is the closing gifts consultant, selling to real estate agents for their closings, and I was excited to try and be the best. I was thinking about going that way, maybe management, and while I was feeling it out, I actually had the chance to go field training with Deanna, and it was an absolute blast. You guys know how it is. If you want to be the best, you have to learn from the best. Always try to go field training. And the entire time during her demo, she had her customer absolutely cracking up. And that's how the demo is supposed to be. If they're having a ton of fun, that means you're probably going to be having a ton of fun. And that's when they're going to refer you to a lot of people. And that's why she has done so well over the years. And that's why she is the best person to jump on here and tell us about how to build rapport and get a ton of recommendations at the end of the appointment. She has done, she has four-peated with the Silver Cup. She does CGC and residential. So she's one of the only CSPs who profits from all areas of the business. You can see it up there on the slide. She closes 85 to 90% of the time when she does a demo. So if she's shown it to somebody, they're probably going to get something. She's all about efficiency. She's constantly tracking her numbers, and that is why she is the queen of consistency. Grab 2 notebooks and 5 pens because this is about to be good. Go ahead, Deanna. The floor's all yours.
Hey, thanks, Stuart. Hey, guys. Thank you for having me. And that's just congrats on all the great numbers, too. I saw all that on the newsletter, and that's just freaking killer. So I'm very happy to be here because technically this isn't my division, and I feel really excited to be a part of this. But I actually was in the Southland division when I was attending Chapman University. So I have been in the division before, and our divisions are like cousins, and we touch. So that just came out really wrong. But you'll come to find that I am not great with words and I don't have a filter. So there we go. That was not planned. That's just how I talk. So unintentionally, by the way, it just comes out. So I will preface with this. I have a lot of information for you guys. I have been doing this a long time, so some of it can be a little overwhelming and, take it with a grain of salt. Some of you might really latch on to a lot what I'm about to share with you. Some of you might be like, oh, that's different. I'm not totally used to that. Totally okay. We all come from different backgrounds. We're all comfortable with things to a different degree. Make it your own. And as Stuart said, I would recommend taking a lot of notes, but more importantly, these 2 things will really help you guys get the most out of my message today. And that is make sure as you're hearing things and learning today, then this should be true for any message you listen to from anyone, star a couple things along the way, because when you're taking a lot of notes, you may look back at it later and wonder, well, which part should I really look at or which part should I apply? And that could be kind of hard. So just make sure you're doing that and making sure you're being aware of what you're doing. And also, as you're doing it, set an alarm to review your notes this evening and review those starred areas. That you guys are going to retain so much more of this by doing that. So I know that's a little extra more homework, and I will be giving you guys a couple of things you need to do. So that should be a priority. And if you're in agreement, this is how people clap on Zoom. So do this for me. Okay, great. We're all in agreement. Perfect. So star it, review it tonight. Do not forget to do that, all right? So basically, let's do this. Let's start with, there's a few things here. There's rapport. I'm going to go over a few demo like dynamics, like things you want to look at in the demo and how to get more referrals. They all kind of work together. So what I'm going to tell you first is I want to explain the thinking, at least I have, behind what I'm doing every time I'm with a customer. In my opinion, you guys can write this down if you want. I will, by the way, be putting a few things in the chat. So if I say something for a long time and you're saying, well, what's that again? I'll try to put in the chat, but we will have time for Q&A at the end. So write down questions as we go too. So the thinking and the mindset behind what I do with a customer is I think fully and know for a fact, I am so confident in this, that Cutco is the smartest investment for the home anyone could ever make. That's just, there's nothing that can sway me from that thought. Cutco is the smartest investment for the home anyone can ever make. And it's funny because you guys, I've heard every objection you have heard. And when I was newer, I used to not really know how to respond to, oh, that's a lot for knives. And now if anyone says it, I get really excited because I'm like, really? That's a lot for knives? How much was your car? 30 grand. Oh, great. And you're going to buy another one in a few years. You tell me what's a better investment, a $3,000 set of knives you're going to have your entire life and pass to your kids, or a piece of crap car you have to replace, buy gas, get new windshield for, pump the tire, whatever. And you have to buy another one and it's 30 plus grand. Oh, you might get a $50,000 and a 60. Oh, okay. You just tell me what's better for you. Go ahead. So, and I don't say that to a customer, you guys, like, it's more like just how I think. And I've just done this so long and I've seen Cutco for so long and what crap people spend their money on, that there is no question that it is the best investment anyone can get, period, for their house. Okay. So you'll find that there's some confidence here. And you know, and if you guys that's just something you get from this, great. Like, that's fine. Cause I was not this confident when I was new. It took me a lot knowing things over and over and over again. That's why you guys are here. That's why I'm happy to share this with you. So you're in the right place. So it blows my mind that anyone qualified cannot afford Cutco. I just call BS right away. And here's why I think that. So I was born and raised in Fresno. Some of you might be familiar with this town. It's in the middle of California. There's about 500,000 people that live there now. It's pretty big, but holy crap, the home prices are nothing compared to here. So that's where I grew up selling Cutco, and people bought Cutco there, right? Just like they buy anywhere else in the United States. So when people who live in Southern California in a very expensive house and drive a nice car and say they can't afford it, if this wasn't recorded, I would cuss, but it's BS. It totally is. People will spend $500 a month for 60 months on something that goes down in value and needs constant repairs and upkeep, compared to $450 a month for 5 months, not 60 months, on something that will last 5 times as long, probably longer than that, and will get used twice as much as their car. Let's remember, you guys, especially in the last few months, guess what? Technically, a person does not have to drive. But guess what they have to do? Eat food. What a concept. I know, it's mind-blowing. So that's just like an analogy that I just think with. Like, it's just such a no-brainer. They have to use knives regardless. Game over. Buy one and done. Get a set. Finished. Goodbye. Like, that's just how it is. So people think and purchase things at a very short-sighted way. And you guys, I'm with you. Like, I do this too. You know, we're not used to buying things that last forever. There's not really anything out there that does. So your job with Mrs. Jones is to keep them thinking long-term. You have to kind of change their buying ways in a way. So you need to create a buying atmosphere, and how to do that is building rapport. Now, I must have heard about the word rapport for 5 years before I even knew what the heck it meant. No one ever even explained it to me. So here's the definition, you guys, straight from Oxford School Dictionary. Rapport is a friendly and understanding relationship between people. So a friendly and understanding relationship between people. That's it. So it's kind of like a common ground, if you will, right? In a good way. So who's ever felt like someone didn't understand them? Like every day, right? Sometimes, right? It could be someone you're talking to at Starbucks. It could be a teacher. It could be your significant other. That's the best, right? So when you don't have understanding with someone, you don't get very far, do you? Correct. Yeah. So the customer needs to have that rapport with you and that understanding for you guys to get anywhere. That's why rapport is important. So you want to tie customers into your goals, but what do you need before you do that? You need to know your goals. Like, this is, if you're going to take anything I have to say, this is probably something you might have heard before, but I cannot stress the importance of this. I mean, I have my goals written out. I look at them every day. It's very important, because otherwise, what are you doing here? Like, what's the point? Why are you doing appointments in the first place? Is it to get your parents off your back? Is it to just save up and, you know, pay off school? Is it to buy a house? Like, is it to buy a car? Like, what are you doing? Like, why? Just understand it and have that be a purpose every single day that you are working. You just need to be aware of it. That way, the work you're doing now has purpose. So tie your customers into those goals. Write down right now, you guys, here's part of your homework. Write down right now, what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? If you don't know, that's okay. Just write down some ideas. Write down a couple words, just whatever comes to mind. Like, what are you trying to do? It could just say money, whatever, something. But then you want to get specific with it. Well, what is that money for? Do you want to study abroad in a year? You know, do you want to go to a certain college? Do you want to graduate in a certain time frame? Like, what do you want? The thing is, you guys, Vector gives you the opportunity to make your goals happen. Like, I don't think some of you understand the opportunity. I didn't until I was here for at least 10 years. And this is why I want to impart this to you. People who work 9-to-5 jobs and get the same pay as somebody who does half the work as them is a bunch of BS. And I can't even imagine someone even working a job like that. I would die, because if I'm pouring my heart out into my work and helping a ton of customers and working and doing my demos more than anyone else, why would I get paid less than someone doing half the work? That doesn't make any sense. So, and you guys have to understand, that's how people work in normal jobs, like normal, secure jobs. I'm sure none of your parents have said anything about that to you at all. Don't, make sure you get a secure job. Well, you know what? Guess what, you guys? Eye opener. This job is as secure as you make it. This job is secure as you make it. Like, it is 100% in your hands. And I have never been a more responsible person for my results than I am, like, because of this job. Like, I didn't learn that from anywhere except Vector. Like, I just want you to understand, like, what that means. Like, it's such a great company and I love working here. Can you guys tell I'm passionate? I don't know. So write down how many demos. You guys will find I joke about everything too. And I know I can be kind of intense. So just take what I say with a grain of salt, but communication is key. And you guys know I don't hold back much. So make sure when you know your goals, make sure you write down how many demos that's going to take. So for example, I think we have about 7 weeks left of the year. Well, let's say you wanted to sell $2,000 a week. Okay. Well, how many demos is that for you? And this might be where you need a little help from the managers, but I think for the most part, I could have numbers off a little bit, but I think the average order, maybe Kuval, you could chime in too, or Stuart, the average order is like 400, something like that. Does that sound about right? Okay, so like 400. So if you guys are selling, let's say it was like 400 and you want to sell 2,000 a week, here's where math comes in, which is my not strong suit. So that's 5 sales, right? Yes, 5 sales. And then you're not going to sell on every appointment, right? I don't either. Okay. So let's say you book 7 to 8 appointments. You guys, I just told you the answer. All you have to do is basically 8 appointments a week between now and the end of the year, and you're going to sell 2,000. There you go. Maybe your goal's higher, maybe it's lower, but it's that simple. So you need to know how many demos you need to make a week. And this is something, you guys, I look at every single week and every single day. So if I was doing 8 appointments a week, that's about 1 a day, right? But for me, I don't want to work every day. So I'm going to put probably 2 a day. That's really how it breaks down. Know what days you're going to work, do it around school or whatever you're doing. 2 appointments a day, and you're making like 10x the amount of money your friends are making, I'm in. That was my favorite thing about going to college, is I loved going to a class at noon and already making my money for the day that most of my friends made in 2 weeks. By noon on a Tuesday. Like, there's just no other job you can do that, at least that's legal. So might as well keep it legal. I'm in. So basically, for those of you that have done this, keep clarity with like the type of goals you're sharing with Mrs. Jones. So when you start an appointment, these are 3 things you do want to write down, okay? When you start the appointment, Mrs. Jones, you want to acknowledge her, like thank Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones, I know you have a lot going on. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for for meeting with me today. It means a lot. And the thing is, you're number 27 out of 100 people I'm working to see this fall. You guys, I'm just making this number up. Choose whatever demo number your number is between now and the end of the year. Your number so-and-so out of this many people. So thank you so much. Just seeing me and meeting with me today, it helps me a ton. So because of you, I'm able to get 1 step closer to paying off my school, or I'm going to be 1 step closer to saving money for next year, whatever. Share it with her. She's going to tie into your goals so much more if you guys do this, I promise. And then C, ABC, right? Acknowledge, share goals. And then C is tell her what's going to happen next. So Mrs. Jones, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you Cutco, and Mary loved it. She thought you would love it too, but I have a person, and I will put this in the chat in a second. I do have a personal rule. I never let anyone get anything they're not going to use or they're not comfortable with. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask you and bug you with a few questions throughout our appointment today, just so I'm totally catering this to you and not boring you with stuff you don't care about. Is that okay? Boom. Guess what? Now, this puts you in control of the demo, but guess what? It's all about Mrs. Jones now, okay? So this is the best way to have your demo. You're in control, but Mrs. Jones feels great and she's excited to help you. What could be better than that, right? So I'm gonna put this in the chat. What I would recommend is don't read it all now. Just copy and paste it into your notes, like onto your phone, onto a Word document. It's gonna be awesome for you guys to use. So I think I just did that right. Let's find out. Okay, good, I did. So I know it's kind of a lot there. Just copy it, paste it somewhere else, look at it later, okay? Because we're gonna keep going. But that's that. And again, we'll have time for Q&A, so no worries. So think about it, you guys. What will sharing your appointment goal also help you get more of at the end? Referrals, yay! And another thing you can say, which I think I just put in the chat, is, and by the way, Mrs. Jones, like just how Mary referred me to you, after you say the whole thing about that whole part, the first part, is you say, and by the way, Mrs. Jones, I know just like Mary referred me to you, keep in mind other people that would also be cool with me showing them Cutco, because I would love for them to help me with my appointment goal as well. And I'm gonna be honestly asking you about those people at the end anyway. So what did I just do there? I just told her I'm gonna be asking her about this. So it's not gonna be a surprise at the end, right? That's the thing. So, and you guys, I know you're putting some questions in the chat. Just write them down too, because I don't want to forget you. I'm just going to keep going, but then we'll make sure we do that too. Okay, I just don't want to forget to tell you that. All right, so building value in the demo. So this is the next section, building value in the demo. You guys know some of this already. You know, Cutco's from 1949. It's made in America. It's guaranteed forever. You get what you pay for, and you show the videos and you do the virtual thing. So I've just told, not always, but sometimes I tell Mrs. Jones, like, if someone just asks me, like, it depends on which part of the demo. I wouldn't say this all the time, but I have said that several of the knives go from about $100 to $200 per knife. Like, I just act like it's normal, because it is. And but I say, Mrs. Jones, but name, this is other, again, mindset here, you guys, but name one thing you can buy for $100 right now that a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, you not only still have, but use daily. So that's the thing, is there's really nothing they can say. And the thing is, I've asked people before, I'm like, hey, what's something you got for your wedding that you still own today? Like, that's kind of something cool to ask people, because usually it's been at least 5 to 10 years if you're seeing them and they're qualified. Like, usually married people are qualified, right? So, and they don't really have an answer typically. If anything, they might say like their wedding ring, but they're not really using that. It's just there. Like, you know, I mean, it's nice, but what's a tool that's being used? Like, their car isn't from 20 years ago, usually, you know? So just kind of think of it that way. Like, I even say even cars don't last that long. And Cutco is slightly less Mrs. Jones than purchasing a car, just a little bit. Like, I always explain that it's expensive, you know? So, and one other like just tip for you guys is when you guys are talking about payments, if people still give you a little pushback and like, oh, I can't afford it or this and that, I just say, you know what, Mrs. Jones, just keep in mind, especially if it's like $100 a month or something like that. I just say, keep in mind, if you just eat in once or twice, it pays for itself. If you just eat in once or twice, it pays for itself. Now, you guys, we all know that people are eating in more and more, but this is all the more reason why it's more valuable to have a good knife set. They have to eat anyway, remember? All of the people that you get referred to have two things in common. You guys ready? These two blow my mind. All of them have a kitchen, and all of them eat food. I know, the second one always blows me away. I know, it's kind of crazy. But this is the thing, it's just such a no-brainer. Like, it just is. And here's my favorite example. Those of you that heard me speak before know that this is my favorite analogy. Most of the people that you do appointments for are all qualified, right? And where do qualified people shop a lot? Costco. That is the #1 store qualified people shop at. By the way, you guys, I was at a seminar once. Do you guys know the biggest production of diamonds and where they come from? Costco. It's crazy. Like, people buy jewelry there, and that's like, you know, that people spend money there. That's the point. So one thing you can say is when you're showing the shears, this is my favorite example with the shears. I'm like, Mrs. Jones, like, you know how do you ever shop at Costco? And the answer is usually yes. Okay, or Sam's either. Okay, you know how half the things that store, and even if they don't shop there or other stores, come in that really annoying hard plastic shell thing, like batteries and cell phone accessories, and it's really hard to open. You know what I'm talking about? Like your kids' toys always come in it. Oh yeah, I hate that stuff. So those scissors are the best scissors you will ever use, and it always handles those packages. And they're like, oh, the weight's lifted off, because they know how annoyed they are. Like you're digging that pain and giving a solution. And guess what they also just told you? They shop at Costco. So what does that mean? So what it means, you guys, is most people, when they shop at Costco spend about $300 to $400. When they leave, that's usually it. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but not very often. That's very hard to do. So that's something you can use right away. So when people start telling you, you know, oh, I can't afford blank payment. I literally had a lady once that said, oh, it's the signature set's $450, and I like for the payment, because that's basically what it is with tax. Might be a little bit less with table knives, but you guys get what I'm saying. And I said, yeah. And she goes, oh, okay, I couldn't afford the whole amount, but I could do the $450. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm just curious, like, did something change your mind besides just the payment? She goes, well, the way I see it, Deanna, is I spend that at Costco like all the time, and usually the things I buy there just last me a few days. This is for life, so it makes sense to me. I died. And now I tell that to everybody, every customer, and they can't argue because it's true. No one's ever said, well, that's not true. They're always like, usually if a husband's there, they're like, yeah, if we could even get out under 500, we're lucky. Ha ha ha. And then the wife hits them and is mad that Casey just exposed how much they spend, which is, I love it. So, but it's true. So true. So who could use more referrals? All of us, right? So I know there's a Yes program in Cutco, like a Yes text kind of program. It has changed over the years, so I'm just going to share with you what I know about regarding it. But the purpose of having a Yes, meaning like the person knows you're going to call them, is to cut your phone time in half. Clap if you are a fan of cutting your phone time in half. Yes, for sure. Me too. I don't love making phone calls either, you guys. But let's make it a minimum, okay? So here's how you do it. Make sure that people that you are talking to that are referring their friends are telling them that you're going to call. That is like the most important thing. I don't even consider somebody a referral unless they know I'm calling. They're just not even existing in my mind until they know. So after you get the list of leads, here's what you want to do. You know, you want to get your list, and I don't know how people really do it too much now. Sometimes they text them. It could be, you know, maybe there's a form or an email or something, but here's what you do with it. There's 3 questions when you do get leads to ask about them. Okay, so you want to ask Mrs. Jones, who just gave you, let's say, 15 leads. These are the 3 questions you always want to ask her. Number 1, Mrs. Jones, if you were me with my goals, who would you call first? Well, I'm going to write this down, so I'm going to put it in the chat. If you were me with my goals, who would you call first? Okay, so basically you're saying, like, who's the most qualified out of your friends? That's really what you're asking. Number 2, who should I see with their spouse? Either like to make a decision, or maybe their spouse cooks a lot and wants to be involved. Okay, so that's number 2, very important question. You will not get the, oh, I have to ask my husband objection if you do number 2 right, correct? Number 3, who's home during the day that I can see during the day? Okay, so that way you guys know how to set up your schedule and you know who to call, because like sometimes you only have a couple of times and they're not even during the proper times. You're calling the wrong people at the wrong time. So just put those 3 questions in the chat. You guys can copy and paste that too. But ask those questions. It's so key. And again, your managers can go over this with you guys, but do you guys know you can even offer a free vegetable peeler if they get to over 21 names, like, or maybe 25, I forget the number now, but that it was 21 when I was doing it that way. Okay. So really key thing. And here's what I tell them to do as well. In my script, I say, okay, Mrs. Jones, if you could just send your friends a quick group text or an individual text, whatever they're comfortable with, I would totally appreciate it while we're here in the meeting. And what's going to happen is one of 2 things, is they're either going to grab their phone right away, or they're just going to kind of sit there and not move. It's usually the second thing, because people aren't want to just do that, right? So one thing you want to do is you need to kind of babysit them a little bit and urge them along. And you say, Mrs. Jones, you wouldn't believe the difference it makes when they hear from you first. For example, it gives about a 70% better chance of me actually seeing your friends if you give them a heads up first. Because remember, even if I call them and say I know you, they don't actually know that I know you. And you know how it is with this day and age with all these random people calling you, right? I don't think they're going to want that either. Does that make sense? Like, get confirmation from them, okay? You don't always want to, if you guys have taken anything from what I said so far, you've noticed that I say things and I ask a question like, does that make sense, Mrs. Jones? Like, do you understand? So you want to make sure that it's like a two-way communication, not just a do this, because it's not, you're not going to have that rapport, right? You have to have the understanding, communication back and forth, okay? So you guys, like, here's a weird analogy, but I think a lot of you can relate. If somebody called you to ask you out and they said they knew your best friend, would you go out with them without hearing from your best friend first? I mean, hey, if you're feeling kind of freaky, game on, go ahead. But nowadays, you never know. What if they're sick? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm like so over that whole C word. Okay, so the point is, make sure you connect with the friend and they connect with their friend before you call. Okay, so, and I say to them, remember, Mrs. Jones, don't overthink it. You don't have to make it long. Here's what you say. And you guys, I will put this in the chat. It's so simple. Guess what it says? Hey, quick heads up. Friend Deanna or nice girl or nice guy named so-and-so is going to give you a call regarding Cutco. Great stuff. And don't worry, she's really cool. That's it. They do not need to be writing these dang paragraphs that are full of BS and silliness. It just doesn't matter. So here's what you do. I just put it in the chat. So that's all you put. It's super simple. Doesn't have to be late. The shorter, the better. When I first figured out this YES program, you guys, the whole reason this even came about, I was meeting with a guy in the military, and you know how he gave his friends a text heads up? His text literally said, yo, homegirl D is gonna call. That's all it said. And all his friends bought. It was the weirdest thing, but that's how he communicated. And that's what they trusted. So when I called, they're like, oh, homegirl D, yeah, perfect. I'm like, yeah, that, okay, great. So, and then I just jumped into what we were doing, right? So, but it was pretty funny. So I think that we can go into more like handling and making sure they do it. We might have some time for questions like that, but the point is just do it. It's so important. And I think you guys have noticed since you mentioned it in the beginning and you talk about how their friend did it and you're stressing the appointment goal, I hope between those three things, you will get more referrals. Make it clear it's not about the sales, because here's the thing. Not everyone can buy a set. I get that. They still don't for me either, okay? But some do, some don't, so what? That's something I learned in Cutco a long time ago. Some do, some don't, so what? Next. That's it. Do not ever dwell on people that aren't helping you. Move on. Get the people who want to help you and help them. Trust me, that will serve you in so many ways in your life. I'm not even talking about Cutco. It could be anything. Do not ever take advice from people you don't admire. You can listen, acknowledge, move on, okay? Use the advice from the people you do admire, okay? There's so many things I've learned. These are all things I've learned in Cutco, you guys, like, and Vector. It's just so important. So make sure when you guys do get a text that they do text their friends, follow up. If it's a morning appointment, you can even follow up that same day. Otherwise, make sure you do it the next day, day after latest. Do not wait. The sooner you follow up, you guys know this, the sooner you follow up with someone who knows you're gonna call, the better it's gonna go. And if it's too vague, it's funny because if they're like, I say, oh, hey, like, did so-and-so tell you I was gonna call? Oh yeah, she did. I was driving though, and I don't know, I think it was about knives, I don't really know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she didn't explain what it was? No, oh my gosh, do you want me to fill you in? I'm so sorry. And then you just tell them. Like, it's better for you to inform them than the friend explaining everything, trust me. So, and one other thing you can say is, hey, Mrs. Jones, I have no idea what your knife situation is at home, but I just wanted to let you know that the company gives out scholarships and helps me pay back student loans. I get full credit just to do it or show it to you. And honestly, Mary thought you'd just be nice enough to help me with that part of it. Does that sound good? So I'm going to put that in the chat as well because it's one of my favorite things to say. And I think we're almost to the end, but hold on a second. I'm going to put this in there for you guys. So again, you're just acknowledging like what they're thinking, because once you do that, they're going to listen to you. So here we go. That is now in the chat, so you guys can save that too. All right. So bottom line is, you guys, hope you start a few things you're going to apply. Again, I want to make sure we have time for Q&A, so I'm going to jump into that now. But the point is, get out there. People are spending money right now, either with you or someone else. So you better get in front of those people, because otherwise they're just going to waste money on gifts for people for holidays that they're never going to use again. When they can be spending money with you on something that's really going to last somebody's not only lifetime, but they're going to be able to pass to their kids, and their kids are going to enjoy for their lifetime, and then their kids' kids are going to enjoy for their lifetime too. There is nothing else you would spend this kind of money on that will ever give you that return. It just nothing. So I hope that helped you guys. I trust that it did. I know I gave you a lot of information, but hey, we're here for some Q&A. So throw some my way. I'm down. Let's do it.
That was awesome, Deanna. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
What do you think? Do you think the best thing to do for a Q&A? Yeah, we'll give you the class. That's fantastic. Do you think the best thing to do for a Q&A would be to have them posted in the chat and then have a manager read it out to you? What do you think? Or do you want to talk to them?
I kind of want to talk to them if it's okay, if it's we're gonna time, because that way I can really get the feel of like where people are coming from.
Sounds good. All right. I know a couple of Westlake people already texted me that they have questions, but if you have a question, feel free to just unmute yourself and talk. And whoever is the last person talking is going to have the question.
I have a quick question.
Cool.
Sure.
First of all, thank you, Deanna. I'm fairly new. I started in the beginning of September, and I've done pretty well. But my goal is more like, I really believe in the product. That's why I've continued selling it, even though I'm working right now.
Nice.
But I really want to just be able to provide this product to people who want it or need it, or I know who would use it, and be a resource for them forever. But a lot of the people, I'm one of those people that I'm older. I know like thousands of people. So most of the people I do demos with are people that I already know personally. And I don't feel, because they've already bought, we have certain relatives or friends that they stay away from because of the MLMs out there, and they're always feeling pushed. So I tend to shy away from really pushing them to give me referrals. And I want to know if there's a middle ground of how to do that. You know, I don't know if you know what I'm asking you, but for people I don't know, I feel okay just saying, hey, but for my friends, I don't want to push them away. And so I need to be a little more mindful of how I'm coming across toward the end, at the end part.
I totally understand. And I'm with you, girl. Like it is harder to do that with people you're already close to, because like you just don't want to like push the relationship the wrong direction or whatever. And I understand. But I think if you preface it early on and just tell them like, hey, like, I know I do this for people that I don't know, but you're a friend. So a lot of people that I don't even know very well have been giving me like 10 to 20 referrals. Okay, you're about to do a drop down basically with your friend. Okay. So they give me about 10 to 20 or 15 to 20 referrals, let's say. So you're one of my good friends. You know, I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do, but it would mean the world to me because we're so close. I can only imagine there's people you know that I would also love because they're friends with you. So I find that the people you could refer me to are so much more valuable than anyone else that could be referred to because we're already friends. So, you know, you don't have to give me 20, but if you can help me out and start, you know, brainstorming with like 10 to 15 people as we're talking, it would mean the world to me. And you're going to get me 10 to 15 people closer to my appointment goal of 100. And that would be all thanks to you. And I would love to have your help with that. Sound good? So you're asking for an agreement up front, but you're telling them like, hey, everyone else does this thing. You can do that, but if you could at least do this, that would help me a lot. We're good. So does that help a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. And it's so great to see you. And thank you so much for taking the time. I always see you on all the newsletters, and it's just really, really cool that you took the time to help us. I was very, very excited about today. So thank you.
Thank you guys. And I do appointments in your area sometimes too. I've done this a long time. So I love Southland. It's the best. It's way more clean than where I live in Glendale, and holy crap, there's less trash and just amazingness.
Oh, and I am a Bulldog alumni.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. That's amazing. Fres, yes. That's what we always say. But my parents still live there and I still go there, and even sharpen knives for customers there too. That is flipping awesome. Cool. All right. Ooh, I like that comment. Spicy. Boom. Okay. Who else has a question?
Here,
I have a question. Oh, you go ahead.
First.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So when they say like, oh, I can't afford $100, $200, $300 a month, how is it that you bring up like the whole Costco things? Cause like that's super true. I just don't know how to like bring it up. You get me?
Sure. I would just, again, the key is with a lot of this stuff is early on. So it's always best to handle the objection before it comes up, right? So for example, with the shears, when you talk about the shears, like, hey, do you shop at Costco? You know how the annoying plastic stuff, and then you give the example how the shears cut it. So they just told you they shop at Costco. No one spends $100 there, especially if there's a family. So you know right away that they can afford it minimally $120 a month. And if you want to get even more clarity, sometimes you can just ask them, like, hey, how often do you shop at Costco? Like once a week, once a month, like twice a week? A lot of my customers do that. Like make it a safe place for them to say, yeah, I do that. So that'd be a good way of like kind of pre-qualifying them. So if they say that, it's not an issue. So that's something. And then also just be aware, like there's little things I think about too. When I know it's kind of hard to see like through a screen, but like if you ever visit someone at their house, I pay attention to their car. I pay attention in their neighborhood. If they're through a screen, you can look at jewelry. You can look at things in their background. Like just look around because you'll know, what they're able to do, especially if they're a homeowner. Like that's the people we all want to see anyway. Their mortgage is going to be at least $2,000 to $3,000 a month, at least as a minimum. So, just that thought. And again, just, I don't know who's saying like, I can't afford $120 a month, but chances are they might not be qualified, or they're just doing the BS game and you just need to slice through it a little bit and like, okay, well, no problem, Ms. Jones. Like, just curious, like I want to be respectful of your budget. As I said from the beginning, like I don't ever want you to get anything you're not going to be able to afford, just so I have clarity. And this is probably the most important thing I can share with you. Just so I have clarity, is it that you can't afford it or it's just too much money for the knives? Like, is it not valuable enough for $120 a month, or you just literally can't afford $120 a month? Like, find out which one it is. Because sometimes people, just because someone says something, it doesn't mean that's what they mean. Okay? Sometimes they may not want to hurt your feelings because they don't want to say, oh, it's not worth that. Now, if that's how they think, you probably didn't, I'm not saying you did this, but I've done this before. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job about showing the value of Cutco, right? So you just want to clarify like what the issue is. And sometimes people say, oh, I can't afford $120 a month. I'm like, oh, okay. Is it just the timing of it? Or is it just, you literally, like, let me ask you this question. Here's another question I ask people a lot. Brandon Brown and I do this a lot. We say, that's totally fine, Mrs. Jones. Just so we know, or just so I know, if you really wanted to, like, could you like the knives, right? Again, you're getting more confirmation. I like the knives. You love how they last forever. Like, what do you like about it? Oh, you like that? You like that they stay sharp? You don't have to mess around with sharpening, that it's taken care of for you? Okay, great. So knowing that you love the sharpness, is it safe to say that you would, even if it wasn't today, you would see yourself eventually getting this set of Cutco, or these 5 pieces of Cutco, or whatever they're looking at? Yeah, even because by me saying, you guys, even if it isn't today, what am I doing? I'm making it so their guard can come down. They're not thinking, oh, they're just going to push me. Even if it wasn't today, would you see yourself eventually getting a set of Cutco? You would? Okay, cool. So just so I have clarity, is the number one thing that's holding you back just that you can't afford the $120 a month? Yeah? Okay, great. And I'm curious, like, if you really wanted it to, could you squeeze the $120 in your budget if you really wanted to, or would it totally break the bank? And that might be a little forward, but guess what, you guys? I'm already getting to know. I might as well just dive in deeper. Now, if they said $120 is going to just push the too far back, no problem. Then what would I do? I would drop down. I'm not going to talk about $120 a month anymore, right? I'm going to talk about something less. So that's where you drop down. I know I just answered like a million extra questions that you probably didn't really ask, but does that help? Okay, good. Okay, cool. I think we had Madison in West LA.
Hello. Yes, thank you. So personally, I was curious about the beginnings of your Cutco experience. So you said that you started while you're at Chapman College, right?
I actually started when I was in high school. I was going
really?
my junior year. It was totally illegal back then, but no one knew, so I didn't know either.
Gotcha. Well, I was curious, what it was like your early days in Cutco, and like what really resonated with you in the company, and like not necessarily like the pay or like the cool stuff that you can do, but what it was that really hooked you in and led to your success here, because you are massively successful. We all want to emulate what you're doing, so I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. I will tell you guys right now, this is a great question. I sold, guess what I sold in my fast start? I'm gonna I'm gonna put it in the chat. There it is. That's what I sold in my fast start. Okay. So the point is the trick to success is like the whole word I use to describe anything I do is consistency. You guys saw the 10 weeks. I can't even, however many weeks over 10K. I don't even know, whatever that number was. It's just consistent work. Like in the beginning, yeah, I was kind of like wishy-washy. I didn't know what I was doing. Like if you follow on Instagram, sometimes I post like really weird old photos. I had, not that I'm a model now or anything, but there was some interesting things going on my face like back then. And I was like not a great looking salesperson at all. There's glasses and braces and all kinds of grossness. Like it was bad. So anyway, the point is like, I learned to just, like, you guys know, I don't give a crap like what people think. And even now, and I can just be gross sometimes, like all of us can, like not on purpose, but you guys know, like who cares? It's LA is like so overrated on that stuff. So the point is like, I didn't care, and I just wanted to do well, and I just I love the people. I think a lot of you can relate to this. Like your managers are freaking badass. Like they're young, cool people. Like what? And they do well. Like, and it's fun. Like there's things that, you know, Kuval and Stuart and all these great people do these great things. And like, you guys are so fortunate to be led by great people like that care about you. And like where you want to go, they care about your goals too, just like you do. Like, that's great. Like that's not a thing in most companies. Like, just so you know, because I have a lot of friends now in the professional industries and things like that. And that's not a thing there. So I think that really the people kept me here, and there's also constant learning. I don't feel like I know everything at all. I'm learning all the time. I do personal growth. Like I'm always learning. I ask, you know, other CSPs a ton of questions. And the only thing that I'm doing that I think most people aren't is I'm just consistent. Like there's people that sell more than me sometimes too. But the thing is, I'm more consistent than them. So it doesn't matter. So I just make calls every week. Some of you know that I track my stats every week. I have a spreadsheet right here. I fill it in every single day. And guess what? I have to text my stats, what I sold, how many calls I made, how many emails I did, and also important, what my day off or days off are. So I make sure I do them because I work a lot, right? To my husband at the end of each day. And I'm not saying you have to text your spouse, or he just happens to work for me. So that's why. Oh, by the way, that's a big win I got about a year ago. Have your spouse work for you. Get rid of their company. Bye, work for me, love you. So anyway, that's why I text him. I don't think I would text him if he didn't work with me. But the point is, text Kuval, text Stuart, like text them those stats. And trust me, you guys, what happens, I'm gonna give you a big secret. In the CSP world, a lot of CSPs don't do that. And I'm not saying I'm all high and mighty because I do it, but it forces me to acknowledge if I sucked that day. And what I mean by suck isn't that I actually sucked. It just means that I was lazy. Usually if I don't want to text Chuck, if I text him like I made one call, he's gonna be like, what the F? Like, why? What are you doing? Like, I'm here cooking you food, being a homemaker husband, and you're doing one call. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, he doesn't say it like that, but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's what's the word? It's when you're accountable.
Accountability.
Yes, that, like the A word. He's that A word. So you see what I'm saying? So whether your accountability partner is your DM or whoever, it forces you. And I think a lot of CSPs and FSMs just say, oh, well, I think I sold enough today. I'll see what tomorrow does. And they don't even know what they sold. So, or what they called or what they did. And then they wonder, well, why did I not do as well this week? And well, maybe you should start with what you do know. And that's why I look at those 4 or 5 things every single day, not on my days off. I don't do it on my days off. Like I'm not that psycho, but every night I make sure I text somebody that information. Cause then you know, oh, well, I didn't sell very much today. It's probably because I only made like 2 phone calls. So tomorrow I'm going to make up for that. So if you guys already know you're supposed to have a demo goal, right? So you want extra credit, make sure you write down how many calls you need to make a week. And guess what? It's not going to even be that many, but you have to know. If you have to triple star anything, do that. Know your number of phone calls that you have to do and then go do them. It is so simple. That's all I'm doing, you guys. I'm just consistent with how many calls I'm making every single day. I don't let it slip out. That's it.